Tell me when we're live. Are we live? We're live right now. All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff. And this is Jeff Talks RPGs. Well, today it's just me because I just had some thoughts that I wanted to share with everybody, some news and some other things that I've just kind of come across. And this legendary resistance trait that we're going to get to later. It's just, I've had some customization ideas on it and some other things. And I just thought I'd share that with you. Just, kind of talk. I don't want anybody to be on the show also and talk against my ideas. I wanted you to hear them from me and not somebody put them down. So, because I had enough of that when I posted on the Dungeons and Dragons 5e Facebook page, they didn't care for my ideas at all. So, but first, I'm gonna get to some news that I thought was pretty cool. If you don't already listen to the podcast, Mastering Dungeons, featuring the multi-talented Sean Merwin and Teo Sabadia, I highly suggest you listen to that podcast. It's a great podcast. They always have great news. Sean and Teos work well together, and it's always a highlight to listen to that podcast. But so that's where I get a lot of my news. So you may have heard some of this already, but something I saw recently was regarding the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Gizmodo reports that director John Francis Daly announced that the Dungeons and Dragons movie has wrapped up filming, which is a big plus. I'm excited for that because it's got Chris Pine. Now, I really like Chris Pine. I thought he was good in the Wonder Woman movies. I really enjoyed him in the Star Trek. I thought he played a great Captain Kirk in that alternate universe. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this. Now, I don't know if any of the script has been leaked or if anybody has any information on that, but some people, I think, want people to fall into the game like they're players, and then they fall into the world and they become the characters. I'd rather see more like the Lord of the Rings type feel, where they're actually in the world. They're playing characters that are established, or they meet established characters as real D&D people. That's my take on it. Who knows? I'm sure it'll be good. I'm hoping it'll be good either way, because the first D&D movies that we had, although were enjoyable at the time, really don't hold up right now. If you watch them now, you're like, oh, that's bad. That's really bad. So I'm excited. I think they said their release date of 2023, but not actual date, just a year. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also, something that's on the WotC website is an article by Wes Schneider, senior game designer and project lead for Van Richten's Guide to the Ravenloft, on how to make D&D scary. And it's an article, and I haven't had the chance to read it all. I saw it this morning, and I just want to share it with you. But I do want to dig into it because kind of portraying horror in D&D can sometimes be difficult. And so I think it's really going to add a lot of flavor, give DMs mechanics that we weren't maybe using already. Just some themes. I think it mentioned some using music and that kind of thing, but it's worth a check out, I believe. And then we've got Wild Beyond the Witchlight, a Feywild adventure, is set to release September 21st. I haven't pre-ordered my Amazon copy. Oh, no, wait, I have pre-ordered my Amazon copy. I don't have a local gaming store that sells any books close by, so that's why I have to use Amazon. But I'm excited. I don't have a lot of knowledge about the Feywild. I have heard of it, but I've never adventured in it. I've never really researched it because I've never written for the Feywild. So I'm excited to see how Will Doyle and Stacey Allen really put that book together, and it looks amazing. And I know Will's great at adventure design and maps. The maps he's developed for that look great, and I'm not exactly sure if Stacey also contributed to the maps. I know she's also a graphic designer as well, so he did. Thank you, Jenny. And so it looks beautiful. I'm excited to see it. Something I came across this morning, which I thought was absolutely cool. There is a D&D t-shirt club on Amazon. You pay like $19 a month, and you get a new t-shirt every month. I signed up for that because the current one looks really cool. It's like a red shirt, and it's got like, I think 12 or 16 different monsters on it, all in little boxes. It's like the family or the Hollywood Squares or something like that. But it looks really cool. So I was like, hey, I'll take a D&D shirt every month. I think that's pretty cool. Then another thing, Nerds Candy, D&D Nerds Candy. You can find information on that at dnd.wizards.com/nerds. And it's pretty cool. They've got wallpapers and Twitch emotes there, little movies about each of the nerds. And the nerds are Pink the Rogue, Purple the Wizard, Yellow the Cleric, Orange the Fighter, Red the Ranger, and Green the Bard. And the little blurb they have there: the nerds will soon enter a most epic pairing with Dungeons and Dragons, both fun and daring, a magical merger of camps that reign clever. We're better together now, better than ever. Oh, I see, that rhymes. I see. That's not yet. I think they come out in September. Have you seen them? Nothing yet. Okay, yeah, I think it said they come out in September. And what's also cool about this is Kat Kruger wrote 7 adventures to go with these nerds candies. So you get the nerds, and then you go online, I think, and unlock a code, and you get an adventure. And then once you get all 6 adventures, you are able to unlock the 7th adventure, which is for a party of characters, and it's a 3rd level adventure. So it looks really darn cool. And kudos to Kat Kruger. That's pretty sweet. Um, Kat's worked with me. I've talked to her, and I just think it's pretty cool to see her doing that kind of design with D&D nerds candy. So that's my news. If anybody else has any news that they want to share, I'm cool with that. But one other thing that came up recently was the print on demand program on the DMs Guild, and there was a lot of feedback on Twitter about that. And I know some people aren't happy with the way it's set up. I'm indifferent. I know I have print on demand products on the Dungeon Masters Guild. I know how much they cost to create. I also know how well they sell, and that's not well. So to keep costs down for an individual, for a new creator, or for your average creator who isn't going to recover those costs back, I think it's a good move on the DMs Guild side for now to do what they did. There's several rules. They've got established layout designers that you have to use. And there's a lot to the POD program that we don't know about because we don't work for DMs Guild. We don't work for OBS. And I think there's a lot behind the scenes that they're really doing. The DMs Guild representatives are doing a lot of work to make this happen. And this is the first step. And so I think we just need to work on those steps, hang in there, and just see how it progresses. And this could also be a step that says, okay, we're going to try this again. If we don't see the sales, we may have to shut it down again because it's an expensive program to run. It's expensive. You don't make a lot of margin off of your products if you're keeping them within a certain price range. I know that some of the things that I have coming out that I was able to get print on demand are $3 or $4 costs, and then if I'm going to run that to $9 to sell, well, that's the same price as the PDF. So then I'm going to try and make up the difference by selling the PDF and the book together. So you're really not making a whole lot of money off the books. So there's really a lot to think about there. And all I have to say is just take your time. Let's see how this pans out. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I think they just want to see how it runs as far as continued sales with new products, and how it works with current or new POD. The DMs Guild has different staffing than OBS. We don't know exactly how the two platforms interact or link together. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know about. So just hang in there. Let's see what happens. So that's my news. Oh, now my Twitter poll. I ran a Twitter poll recently, and it came back with some really interesting data. And for a long time, we've been told that adventures are the best-selling things on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and a lot of people were like, "No, they're not," because these player options are selling really well. The problem with that is I don't have data to back this up, but I think it's easy to understand. There are so many adventures on the Dungeon Masters Guild that people have so much to choose from. There are less player options. So you may not see the sales of adventures, but other adventures are selling. And it's just like, there's just too much to choose from. And so that's why adventures are the number one selling product on the Dungeon Masters Guild. And my poll that I ran on Twitter was, what third-party products do you buy more of? And my options were adventures and settings, magic items, player options, or monster books. And I know I'm skewed a little bit here because adventures and settings are in one category, but I did it from my phone and it only allowed me 4 choices. So I kind of put those together. 57% of the 957 votes came back as adventures and settings were the number one thing that they bought on the Dungeon Masters Guild. 6.5% came back and said magic items. 15.3% said player options, and the other 20.6% were monster books. So 57% say they're buying adventures, which I believe. And if you look at the Adamantine products, which there are 73 Adamantine products right now in the Dungeons Masters Guild. Of that, 28 are adventures. That's 38% are adventures of the 78 items of the Dungeon Masters Guild. I broke that down a little further. 9 of those are Adventures League adventures, and there's some great ones in there. Treasure of the Broken Horde by Sean Merwin, number 1. There's Defiance and Flan. There's a bunch of great AL adventures, and those were some of the first things that started on the Dungeon Masters Guild. So, and with Adventures League, so it's easy to see how those have sold so well, and they've got great reviews. 2 of the products are DM's Guild Adept Adventures, one by MT Black, one by James Tricasso. That's another program that gets a little more highlight than the basic community creator. 4 of the adventures on there are early edition adventures. We're talking like Ravenloft, Keep on the Borderlands, Temple of the Elemental Evil, and Against the Cult of the Reptile God. 1 WotC adventure is on there, and that is the Lost Laboratory of Qualish. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I hope I did. And then close enough. And then 2 books are books of adventures. One is Uncaged Volume 1. The other is The Complete Adventures of MT Black. That leaves 10 community products as Adamantine bestsellers. Now, something that's really amazing here is that Beth and Jonathan Ball have 3 of them. They are 3 Adamantine products. They are, I believe, they're solo adventures. One's called it's in a nice little naming convention here. First Blush, Second Glance, Third Time's the Charm. What's even more amazing is that they are currently marked to Pay What You Want. Now, I don't know if they've always been Pay What You Want, but for anybody who has a Pay What You Want product out there, you know how hard it is to get people to pay for your product. And to get 3 Adamantine products as Pay What You Want is just amazing, stellar, just incredible. Another one that's Pay What You Want, I think it is, maybe it's not, A Most Potent Brew by Richard Jensen Parks. And I think he's got To the End of Time also, Richard Jensen Parks. So he has 2 in there. And then rounding out some of the others are Shore of Dreams by Poison Potion Press, The Haunt by PB Publishing, Banquet of the Damned by Benoit de Bernardi. I remember that when that adventure came out of the Dungeon Masters Guild. I was like, who is this guy and why is he spending money on products? Because it looks so good. He had this great cover, his art, everything inside looked WotC official, layout and everything. I mean, who is this guy? He's making me look bad. But Benoit and I turned out to be really good friends. He worked with me for quite some time, and it's been a lot of fun to work with Benoit. And then the Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss, that I co-wrote with Remley Farr, is kind of rounds out the publisher or the community content ones. And so it's really cool to see how these break down. Now, I didn't break down the Mithril and Platinum. There's just too many. I got a question. What I got? You can see the original prices in the bundle.
They cost money originally.
Oh, did they? Okay. Good to know. But that's great. I mean, yeah, I thought they were Pay What You Want. Okay, so I'm mistaken.
They are currently Pay What You Want. You're correct.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that I mean, that's just amazing to have 3 Adamantine products. I'm kudos to them. I know Beth has written for me. She's a great person. I think she's also in the novels now too. So it's great to see her continuing with her writing and fantasy and everything. But I just thought that was really interesting to see the breakdown that 9 of these adventures are AL adventures, and 2 of them are Adept adventures, and 4 are the early edition adventures. Just to show people that there are not a whole lot of Adamantine products out there that are community content program creators. So there's a ways to go. I think and so part of that is because there are so many adventures to choose from. I think you may have a couple that are just stellar and people start talking about it. You get people YouTubing them or playing them on YouTube, streaming them, talking about them on Twitch. I know The Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss got a lot of popularity because a lot of people YouTubed it on around not Christmas, Halloween time, and their watchers picked it up and ran it, and so that's really how you gain momentum in sales. And great reviews, 5-star ratings, and a lot of it is luck. My formula to success is it's chaotic. So it's writing the correct product, releasing it at the correct time, and finding buyers who want it equals success. You never know what that's going to be. There's no way to gauge exactly what somebody wants, because something could have just come out also that's similar to your product, and then that takes off really well. Look at all the encounters projects that are out there now. When I first started doing the Savage Encounters products, I was the one doing them. There were a couple others doing them too. Tony Petrecka did the Journey Through the Center of the Underdark, and that's really what inspired those. But then more Encounters projects started coming on, and so now if you're not the first to release the Encounters books, you're in last place because somebody else already picked up all these encounters. Who needs 90 encounters in the Feywild? I don't know. Or 90 encounters in Icewind Dale? I don't know. So now there's more competition because we have more and more creators coming to the Dungeon Masters Guild. People are taking their shot and saying, hey, let's give this a try. I've got this great idea. I've got this adventure. Let's put it down on paper. There's the RPG, or there's the, I forget what they call it. They renamed it. It was the RPG Creators or Writers Workshop.
Storyteller Collective.
Storyteller Collective. That's right. Though you've got programs like that who are bringing new writers to the Dungeon Masters Guild. So there's all this new content coming in. And so I know my sales are down this year. I'm down maybe 30 to 40%, which is pretty big for me because, I started in 2016. I've got a very large library of products, and to see my sales drop that much when you're counting on making so much money a month from your royalties based on previous years, and you're not getting that throws my current projects a little bit under the bus because I'm not receiving the income that I expected to have to pay people. And then on top of that, I've got to pay estimated taxes. So every 3 months I have to send money to the IRS. And, it just, when sales don't continue the way they are, it puts a little wrinkle in your pocket. But we don't know what's causing that. Now, I had another theory that maybe some D&D players are jumping into Magic the Gathering, because these Forgotten Realms cards just came out. And I know I spent a bunch of money on them because I used to play Magic, and I bought a bunch of cards because I wanted to get back into Magic with these. And I pulled 2 foil Tiamats, so I felt pretty good about that. But I didn't get a Lolth or a Xanathar, which upset me there. But so I played once. I met some other creators up in Leavenworth, Kansas the other weekend, and they took me out first. They just all ganged up on me. They didn't like me at all. But it was fun. It was fun to get back into the game, and I'm looking forward to playing again. But it's like, well, why aren't people buying products now? And other people may be seeing an increase in sales. I don't know. But people are on vacation. They're going back to school. Are they buying Magic the Gathering cards? Are they just waiting for the new books to come out? Because WotC books sell much better than D&D DM's Guild products. That's just the way it is. I know I have seen Dungeons and Dragons recently post tweets about DM's Guild products. Some of them are free products. Some of them are not free products. But it's good to see them pushing the Dungeon Masters Guild out on Twitter and social media. One, because Hasbro gets money off the Dungeon Masters Guild. It's free money for them. They're making a little bit of money off of each sale. And when it's free money, it's easy margin. I don't see why they wouldn't continue to do that. Now, who knows if the platform will continue? Maybe they'll find a different way to monetize that, because they're really starting to bring their IP in and take control of more and more of the company than they once did. So we'll see. We'll have to see what happens in the future with the Dungeon Masters Guild, with WotC, with the IP and everything. And if 6th edition ever happens, which I know people have talked about it, but currently I think fifth edition is still too popular to bring out a sixth edition. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot if you do bring out a sixth edition now while people are still buying fifth edition products, because the player's handbook is still selling pretty well. The books in general are selling pretty well. To see, I mean, I was in Walmart the other day and saw the player's handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide in Walmart. That's great. That's getting your average person who's not in a game shop to see these books. And hey, I've heard about Dungeons and Dragons. Let's pick up this book. Or kids open up the Monster Manual like, oh, that's cool, Mom. Can I have this? And the mom's like, oh yeah, sure, why not? I don't know if your parents were like that when you were kids, but I had to coax mine into buying me the books. But I think it's great to see Dungeons and Dragons in more locations. I think Target was the sole supplier there for a while for the Icewind Dale starter set. What was that? Dragons of Icespire Peak, is that right? And so, to have these starter sets in stores is just amazing. And I don't know if any of you have ever played Dungeon Mayhem. It's a fantastic game, super simple to learn. We play it all the time, and I really can't pick a favorite character that I play. I like the Illithid, the Mind Flayer guy. I like the Beholder girl. I cannot remember the names for the life of me right now. I'm sorry, but it's super simple. If you don't have it, pick it up. It's a great family game. It's simple to learn, and you can usually play a game in like 10 or 15 minutes. Piece of cake, and it's not as expensive as Magic the Gathering, but it's a good way to get people into the game. So that's my thoughts right there on adamantium sellers. My Twitter poll, saying that adventures and settings are the most popular products people buy. And that doesn't mean everybody stop writing monster books, player options, magic items, go write adventures. No, because you're still going to need those. It's a specialized area that people are buying monster books, player options, magic items. You could have people who just stock up on magic items, but adventures and settings are the most popular. And you're lucky if you have a great selling product, because there's a lot of luck in selling it. And I can firsthand, marketing sucks. It's one of the worst things that I do, and I don't do it well. Posting on Twitter, posting on Facebook, running ads, Reddit, everywhere. I mean, even this show is the type of marketing that I'm trying to do to get my name and my brand out there. And speaking of that, if you haven't bought Adventures from the Potbelly Kobold, it's available on Amazon, Drive-Thru-RPG, and Fantasy Grounds. And if you would, Jenny Loveday does a lot of work behind the scenes. If you could just click the little subscribe button or follow or give a tip, one of the two, one of the three, wouldn't be so bad. But anyway, going back to this is Jeff Talks RPGs. It's available on Twitch, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you want to give us a 5-star review, share it with your friends, we would appreciate it. So that's my marketing bit for right now. But yeah, it's all about trying to get your name out there, your brand out there, and trying to stay on brand. And do you think third-party publishers are getting better at creating their own storefronts and marketing and bypass the DM's Guild drive-through buy-in? I don't have my own website where I sell through. I still go through the DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG. I haven't made it that far yet. I don't get a lot of traffic to my website yet. And if you haven't been to my website, you want to check it out. It's jeffstevensgames.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter while you're there. But eventually, hopefully, I'm going to. Well, first of all, I'm not non-exclusive. Is that right? Yeah, on Drive-Thru RPG. I'm still under an exclusive contract with them, and I'm going to get out of that contract in October, and then I can start thinking about some of this other stuff. But I didn't realize some of the things you couldn't do when you're under exclusive contract with them, and so I just have to wait to do some things. But I know a lot of companies that do have direct storefronts. I think 2C Gaming is one of them, Cobalt Press, but also Cobalt Press has their stuff on Drive-Thru RPG, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's another outlet for sales, because if you don't find the Cobalt Press website, well, you're finding it on Drive-Thru RPG, or you're finding it on Amazon, which was my intent when I put Potbelly Kobold on Amazon and Fantasy Grounds. There's more than one place to purchase. It needs to be everywhere I can find it, or everywhere people might be able to find it. And that's what I plan to do with other Kickstarters too. but there's some things I have a I have a I don't know if I have a following because they didn't have the follow your creator at the time when I started publishing in the Dungeon Masters Guild. But I know I have several people who enjoy my work and will usually typically buy whatever I put out. But of course, I haven't published anything lately, so I might be losing those people. Are VTT selling adventures in their libraries too? Yes, they are. Yep. Steam, Fantasy Grounds has adventures in there. Roll20 has adventures in there that you can buy from their store site. And hopefully in November, Potbelly Kobold will be on Roll20. But then again, paying for those conversions is expensive, or maybe not lucrative for the converter if they're taking a royalty cut, because I'm not seeing fast sales on Fantasy Grounds. I'm seeing sales, but they're spotty. So it may take a while to actually for the converter to make much profit off of it, or for me to make my money back. But the way I look at it, it's there as long as Fantasy Grounds is there. And if somebody plays it or picks it up, plays some adventures, and tells another Fantasy Grounds user, hey, this was really fun, you should check it out, and then it kind of just grows from there. That's what I'm hoping. Word of mouth is the best advertising marketing that you can hope for. Somebody, oh, I'll get to that. Have you have word of mouth is the greatest marketing thing that you can get, because who's going to read an ad? Oh, I hear Charmin's the best toilet paper. Well, no, I use Angel Soft or whatever it's called. And then somebody goes, wow, I started using Charmin and it's amazing. Oh, okay, well, I'll try out Charmin. Somebody that now I know toilet paper is really bad, but it was just there. But excuse me. That's the whole point.
The great toilet paper, debacle of last year, Jeff.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, we were using some crazy stuff back then. Single ply or half ply stuff. That's all the stores had. I will tell you now, I will never run out of toilet paper again. I have like 3 cases in my basement because I didn't want to go through that. That's planning, that is planning. So the question was, have you seen traction from Ginny D's amazing ad spot? And yes, I have. It hasn't been the landslide that I had hoped it would be, but I am seeing more sales on Fantasy Grounds, Amazon, and DriveThruRPG. So it is working for me. Of course, she has such a huge following that I was hoping for 5,000, sales from that product. No, it's just going to take time. Her ad is out there forever. And somebody who finds Ginny D and starts going back and looking at her other spots and then sees that ad like, oh, okay, it's out there forever. So it's going to keep making me money in the long run. Ginny, by the way, was great to work with. She communicated with me fantastically. Her ad was amazing. She did a great job. And the character that she played was Den, the Goblin Seamstress, written by Kat Kruger, who also wrote the D&D Nerds Adventures that I just spoke about. And she did a great job with that, because what was funny was that she chose that, and I actually test played that with my players. And one of the awards she offers is some bespoke costumes or clothing, and they wanted a Batman costume, so she made them a Batman costume and some other things. But it was just kind of fun just to have that goblin seamstress there to make your people something different, a different kind of reward other than gold or a sword or something. Excuse me, got a little dry. So yeah, marketing is always tough, and it's just one of the things that I do not like to do, because I don't enjoy feeling like I'm spamming people. When I'm not getting retweets or likes on Twitter, I'm like, well, people have seen this too much, or they're tired of me, or they just don't care for what I'm doing. And that can hurt, just as much as it can hurt that your books don't sell. You're not getting reviews, you're not getting 5-star reviews, you're not getting ratings. It's not picking up traction. You spent all this time, because I have some books that I spent a lot of time, like Into the Belly of the Beast. It's one of my favorite adventures that I've written. I played it, I loved it, but it does not sell. I don't know why. Could be the cover, could be the title, could be the idea that it's in a swamp, who knows. But yeah, again, it's one of my favorite adventures that I've ever written and played, and but it just doesn't take off with the community. So hey, that's what it is. But it's out there for the long haul. So as long as the DMs Guild is open, it's out there and it's going to be selling, products and or selling copies here and there. And I say as long as the DMs Guild is open because we don't know what could happen. Who knows? We hope it's open forever, just because people have so many things out there. But who knows what could happen? So yeah, that's my spiel on all that. Anybody have any questions that they want to throw in chat real quick before we go to the next topic?
No, we're
All
ready to
right.
go to the next one so we can argue with you.
Okay, great. Okay, so legendary resistance. All right, I started thinking about this as a DM and a player because you've got, like in Schultz, you got King of Feathers, who has legendary resistance. He's a big Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh, spoiler, sorry. If you can we back that up and take that out? Okay, no, just forget it if you haven't played Schultz yet and you're going to. But anyway, legendary resistance is it's a hefty trait. It gives the creature the ability to slough off huge amounts of damage. It makes battles last longer, which is cool. But the trouble is that a lot of players know that most creatures with legendary resistance, I can't speak, legendary resistance have 3 per day uses of the trait. And so, the idea is to whittle them down. But if the creature isn't going to take much damage from the other spells or the effects, then why would it use this legendary resistance? And then you've got these spellcasters who have just leveled up, acquired, banishment or fireball or, any of those, that if they fail a saving throw, the creature can say, nope, I succeed instead. So then that new character just lost that spell slot. So much for getting that spell because it's just gone to the wayside. Didn't do any effect. Or maybe it did half damage. But it can really depress the game and the character. And I posted this in the 5e Facebook page, and I got a lot of negative comments about my ideas because they're saying this is why it exists. It do not nerf this trait. It needs to be the way it is. But you're nerfing the characters if you're with this trait. So it goes both ways, I think. We can do some things with it. Now, the basic definition of legendary resistance is if X, where X is the creature, fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed instead. And it's often limited to a number of uses per day. So, examples of things that are automatically taken out: blindness, deafness, banishment, dominate monster, gone. And who wants to see their big bad turned into a rabbit or something? Oh, this big fight's set up, and they're gonna fight the evil doer, and bang, he's a rabbit. Okay, well, I have 2 thoughts on that. One, yes, it kind of sucks that the big bad is now a rabbit and easily destroyed, but he pops back up if he's polymorphed into something. 2, what are your players going to talk about more? Are they going to talk about defeating the big bad guy, or are they going to talk about transforming it into a rabbit and then finding some other way to deal with it while it's in that form? I think you're going to see the latter being the most talked about in the adventure or the evening or the history of your game. That may not be what you wanted, but it's part of the story. But we don't have to just leave it as that. We can come up with a trait that says, okay, if the creature fails its charisma save, it can repeat that save after each turn, and then banishment, instead of lasting, I forget, what is it, 10 minutes? I forget. It would just last 6 seconds, 1 minute. Okay, so it would just last 6 seconds. So the party's there thinking, we got a minute. Well, then it pops back after 6 seconds. So you didn't actually nerf the entire spell. It still went off, but it's a little surprise at the end, like, uh-oh, it didn't last as long as we thought it was going to. And there's all kinds of little ways around it like that. But some of the customization ideas I had for legendary resistance are: give it a recharge. So instead of the trait having 3-day per uses, give it a recharge roll. So it has to, the creature, just like a breath weapon, has to roll a 5 or 6 for it to be able to use it the next time. And so you may get that first legendary resistance off, but then they're doing damage. And then you finally roll another one and it's able to slough off some more damage. I think that's going to make it a little more exciting for the players. And it also kind of changes them up because they're thinking, well, he's got 3 uses per day. I can't use my good spells yet. You're changing up on them. You're not, for the players who are metagaming and know all the creatures in there, you're going to mess with their minds a little bit. Make it a reaction. So I came up with an idea for why to make it reaction. And I came up with the Elderly Red Dragon. Okay. So there's the deadly ancient dragon, but there's also the more ancient dragon who isn't as deadly as they once were. So imagine a really frail ancient dragon. We're going to use the red dragon stat, and we're going to give it magic resistance, which is going to have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. But then instead of having legendary resistance, we're going to give that as a legendary action. So it has 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below, and only one legendary option can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. So legendary resistance costs 2 actions. So it's able to use legendary reaction once, and then it could do a tail attack, or its wing attack costs 2 actions. It's saying that, okay, this old dragon isn't as quick as it used to be, or isn't as resilient as it used to be. And then I also came up with the pre-adult red dragon, because, all right, this red dragon is close to becoming an adult, but still has some growing to do. It's just as deadly, but not as resilient. And so we're going to just give it legendary resistance once per day. So yeah, he's still deadly. He's got the fire breath. He's got everything else, but he's not going to slough off damage as easily. So because he's only got legendary resistance once per day. And then another idea I've had is a chaos infused like gladiator. I'm probably going to build some goblins, and I'm going to put this on DM's Guild, by the way. So if you see it, don't talk bad about it. My whole idea is with legendary resistance and traits and that type of thing. Just if you don't like it, that's okay. I even say that at the beginning that you may enjoy legendary resistance the way it is. That's fine. Keep it the way it is. These are just my ideas on how I think we can use it to add theme to the characters, or to the adventure, and to the monsters that we use. And part of this is like the Chaos Gladiator. I just chose Gladiator to work with. And it's going to have like let's see, I gave it chaotic resistance, 3 times per day, 50% chance. So roll a d6. If the result is a 5 or 6, okay, actually it's going to be a 33% chance. This trait activates. If the gladiator fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed instead. So you don't know if it's going to activate or not. And so that's like it's going through this far realm warp body, and the energy is chaotic, and maybe its legendary resistance activates, and maybe it doesn't. You don't know, which kind of makes it a little more exciting for you as well as the characters during the battle. But there's still a few creatures that I want to work on before I get this published. But some of the other ideas I had is reduce the number of uses, make it once or twice per day instead of 3 times per day. And in that case, I would suggest adding like 50 hit points to the character, to the creature, just to make it last a little longer. We talked about giving it a die roll, remove the trait entirely. So say you want the characters to fight a red dragon, an adult red dragon, but they're not quite there at that CR level yet. I think removing that trait is going to make it a little easier for them to do damage, especially since they can't just automatically succeed on a failed saving throw. Just by doing that, you're introducing something else that says, okay, we're fighting this red dragon. Oh, we killed that thing so easy. Next time we fight one, we'll know what to do and everything. But then they come up to another red dragon who has legendary resistance, and then they're thrown for a loop because, well, the other red dragon didn't have that. So you're mixing it up. We can remove the trait entirely and add hit points. So if it has 3 times per day legendary resistance, maybe add 50 hit points per day or per time. So that would be like 150 hit points added to the creature. So your wizards, everybody is still going to be doing the massive damage with the fireball spell. You still have to worry about banishment and those types of things, but you could give them expertise in their saving throws for those. It's still make it a fight, a contest. You can also swap it up. So if the creature doesn't have magic resistance, consider swapping legendary resistance with magic resistance. So they're going to have an advantage on their saving throws, but they're not going to be automatically able to just slough that away. And again, change it to a legendary action, which is what I had on the elderly red dragon, which I like that little wrinkled up old dragon with a cane, can't quite fly right, or wearing a brace on the wing because it doesn't work right. But those are my ideas. I'm still working on these. I want to come up with some other things to counter banishment and dominate monster and actually put those in words. I've got some ideas because yes, it could suck for you if you're the GM and banishment's thrown out there and you're gone. You lose that creature for a minute and then they run away. Well, they haven't won, or they're able to set up traps or something when it pops back, or the polymorph spell, that type of thing. So there's some things to think about. And as a GM or a DM, you need to consider how powerful are the players that you're dealing with. Are your characters powerful enough to defeat a creature with legendary resistance? And I say, yeah, keep it with them. But if they're still under that, then maybe change it up a little bit. Now, my brother, we recently finished up Horde of the Dragon Queen, and just to test it out, my brother threw a little wrench in it, changed up the story a little bit so that we would actually fight Tiamat. I can tell you that 5 CR or 5 level 15 characters cannot defeat Tiamat. It was pretty quick deaths on our part, because she has one trait where it's like she just doesn't even care about 6 level spells and under. They just don't affect her. Legendary resistance, all kinds of things, like a plus 17 to saving throws. It's like, whoa, yeah, we would not. She's a CR 30, I believe, and it was fun to try. My Goliath fighter cleric named Warfist was in there with his warhammer. He was going to beat up Tiamat and make sausages out of her, because Warfist carries a bandolier of sausages and speaks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, as best that I can speak like Arnold. I try my best to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger with the sausages and stuff, but hey, it's fun. I like voices. So Alan Tucker, instead of legendary resistance, you could give legendary reflection. Spells get reflected onto the caster. I don't have a problem with poly or banishment because they are limited. It's things like Finger of Death, yes, disintegrate, etc., that can ruin a boss fight, yes. But then why do the spells exist? If I'm not going to be able to use Finger of Death or disintegrate on the big bad, why does the spell exist? Anyone? Am I supposed to be able to kill the lesser guys with those spells and then battle because I want to feel like the evil archlich sometimes? That's Ginny says that. Yeah. So yeah, you're using those on the lesser characters or the creatures, and then you get to the big bad and those spells don't work on the big bad, which I can understand to a point. I don't know. There's a lot to think about when you consider legendary resistance and big creatures and boss battles and your characters. And so I think the biggest thing is to keep in mind what your characters can do. And if it's not going to matter to them, if they've got enough spell slots that they're able to deal enough damage and the 3 times of legendary resistance doesn't matter, cool, keep it. But if you only got one spellcaster, that really puts a wrench in that spellcaster. I mean, that spellcaster feels like they're doing nothing in combat because everything they're trying just isn't working. But if you need to scale it down a little bit, change things up, throw a wrench in them, and throw a wrench in their plans or their thinking, their metagaming, because they think there's 3 legendary reactions on this creature and you only have 1, and so they're still holding the back their powerful spells when they can be doing damage. You're changing it up. So I think there's ways to use legendary reaction. No, not legendary resistance to customize the game, to make it your game, to make it your creature. Jenny, you don't see Jenny laughing at me every time I make a mistake, but she giggles whenever I do. But she's awesome. And again, if you haven't subscribed or followed or whatever, be sure to do that because we like Jenny. Jenny is great. And again, Hey, and if you're listening to this on my podcast on Apple or Spotify, leave a review, a 5-star rating, whatever, and let people know. I enjoy doing this. It's fun. I hope you find some enjoyment out of this. We're almost done for the evening. That's pretty well all I've got. I spoke a lot here, and maybe I spoke too quick. I don't know. Hopefully, my points were made as to why I am the way I am with Legendary Resistance. But does anybody have anything they want to say right now? We've got chat open if anyone wants to ask a question or anything. It doesn't even have to be about this stuff. You can ask me any questions.
When are you gonna start your blog where you lay all this out for everyone?
Well, I have a newsletter that I dropped it in the newsletter a couple times, which you can sign up for on my website, jeffstevensgames.com.
But it doesn't live on the internet.
I know,
for posterity's sake.
I know. Which I should probably start a blog.
You already have the website, so you're posted away there.
Yep.
Who's posterior? Jeff's.
My posterior. But if no one has anything, I mean that's pretty well the show. We've been on almost an hour.
That's not the word I was looking for.
Posterior. It's all right, Chitty. It's all right.
Austerity.
Posterity. That's it. See, to the best of us. You're even an editor. What are you thinking? Yeah. How about that? Editing a project. I don't think you meant. I think you meant posterior here, not posterior. Oh no, wait. You did mean posterior. Yeah.
Poultry versus paltry.
Yep. There versus there. Oh wait, that's common. It's yeah. So, your and your.
Yeah. And Alan, I'd be interested to hear like what exactly about blogging that you hate. Just like that it's freeform or that you put it out there, or like that it feels like you have these expectations to keep writing because.
I can see that stuff because I have trouble putting out a newsletter myself. Sometimes, because I don't think everything that I write is good or come up with ideas. Like when I posted this to the 5e Facebook page, it's like nobody liked it. There were a couple of people that said, "Hey, these are great ideas. I'm going to try these." One was like, being the spellcaster, I feel this. I have to deal with this. It kind of hurts. But you've got a lot of rules written DMs out there who don't want you to screw with certain things. So, you just have to kind of take it. Just like you have to learn how to take reviews of products. If you get a bad review on a product, just take it. Just deal with it. Be like a goldfish. I've been watching Ted Lasso. I don't know if anybody's been watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It's a great show. But he's telling one of the soccer players, be like a goldfish, because a goldfish has a memory of 10 seconds. Just forget it and move on. So bad reviews are nothing to get worked up about. Learn from them and progress, but don't get mad. Don't speak out against the reviewer, that type of thing. Because when I would get bad reviews on my products, I'd be like, they don't understand what I was trying to do. They didn't run it right. They weren't supposed to do that. It's like,
well, then you didn't explain it clearly.
I explained it, Jenny. It was clearly explained. They just didn't understand the way I wrote it. Right? Yep. Not my fault. Not my fault at all. All right. So if nobody has anything else, I think we're going to wrap it up tonight. I appreciate everybody stopping by and listening to me rant about Legendary Resistance. I hope you found my news interesting and my breakdown of the Dungeon Masters Guild Adamantium and my Twitter poll results interesting. But hey, I enjoy doing this. I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad you're listening. Take care. You all have a great night, and may your die rolls be successful or unsuccessful, whichever one's cooler.
And Peace. Of course, don't forget to follow Jeff on Twitter.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @JCorbinStevens. My website, jeffstevensgames.com. See, I'm bad at marketing. I don't like it.
It's okay. It's been on the screen the whole time.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody, take care. Till next time.